Bitch, welcome back to another episode of Alleged Tea, hosted by your girl Taylor-Nicole, otherwise known as Lady Aguilera 2.0 on TikTok. Remember, this is all alleged. It's alleged, baby. Jax, welcome to your episode. I do honestly feel a little 13 Reasons Why doing a whole fucking cassette tape for each boy that I've dated in the past fucking 6 months. But you know what? We live and we learn. I really want to preface though this episode with the fact that I really don't want to bash Jax in any way, shape, or form. He really didn't do anything wrong. I honestly think that the whole dating experience with him specifically was a learning experience for him and I mean, I can't really speak for him, but at least for me. Okay, so just a little preface and background information for those of you that don't know. I dated this guy really soon after my breakup with Lala Man, which was my very toxic ex-boyfriend who was taking nude pictures of me without my knowledge. If you want to listen to that story, please listen to episode 1. I basically jumped into something too soon after that relationship, and he also jumped into something too soon after his relationship. I really just want to focus on the lessons that I learned from this particular situation. I really honestly think we were both coming from like hurt places. I just think that we were coming from an unhealed place, and I kind of just want to touch on that and what it's like to go into a relationship too soon after a breakup, and maybe we could all learn something from my fucked up fucking mistakes. So let's start with a little timeline so we're all on the same page here. Me and Jax, the reason why we call him Jax is because he looks like Jax Teller. We originally called him Meaty Man, but I could not fathom fucking calling him Meaty Man, and him knowing that I was calling him Meaty Man, I literally wanted to fucking die. So we changed it to Jax. Me and Lala Man, which was my first ex-boyfriend that I dated for a year and a half, very toxic relationship, broke up mid-December. I started talking and seeing Jax early February. Yeah. So you can imagine I was still processing the breakup and everything that I found out, and I was kind of compartmentalizing to the point where I was just ignoring everything and just moving on with my life, but I was also working through it in therapy. So I thought, I'm good. I could date, I could see other people, and we started seeing each other beginning of February. Jax also went through a breakup around December, end of December, and we started talking in February. He just came out of a relationship and I just came out of a relationship, and we both gave it about a month before we started talking to other people, right? So I met him on Hinge. So we boycott fucking dating apps because nothing good has come out of dating apps besides every single relationship crashing and burning to the fucking ground, okay? I'm just gonna start like a change.org of boycotting all fucking dating apps because they don't work. But anyways, so him and I meet, we start talking. I'm gonna fast forward through the like stuff that's really not important. So we start talking, we have a lot in common, we really hit it off, we were like totally on the same page. But I started to notice really early on that we both were bringing up our exes a lot, whether it was me asking about his past relationships or him asking about mine, and then we just kept talking about our most previous ex, as one would do when you only give yourself a month to fucking heal from the situation. It was like end of March that we made it official and we were boyfriend and girlfriend. So very fast, very rushed. Now, the thing with rushing into something after a breakup that I want all of you to really recognize is that when you come out of a toxic relationship, the first person that you start talking to, you are going to think is God's gift to the world. You are going to think they're a breath of fresh air. You are going to think that they're the best thing since sliced fucking bread, because they're not your ex. The reason why you feel like that is because you come out of a toxic relationship. So anybody that's just not him, you're like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. You think that person is great. And that's why the rebound breakup hurts so much harder and so much worse than the actual breakup, because you're looking for like this hopeful thing where like you have this mindset of like, oh, that's the reason why I went through this. The reason why I went through this shitty ass relationship was to meet this great, amazing guy. And it's really not. It's just kind of like a rebound situation. And I feel like that's what me and Jax were for each other without necessarily realizing it. The downfall of our relationship started when I started noticing the fact that he was constantly talking about his ex-girlfriend. And I kind of started to feel like he wasn't over his ex-girlfriend. And I started to notice that I kind of liked the conversation of us talking about our exes because it was helping me like process what the fuck happened to me. Some would call that trauma bonding. You don't want to ever start a relationship off where you guys are bonding over how fucked up your exes were. That's just like not a good foundation to start on. It's a very unhealed place. But at the time when I was in it, I didn't realize what was going on. Okay. I was just fucking processing my shit. But what started the red flags, I guess you could call them, is that in the beginning stages of our relationship, I found out that he was posted on Are We Dating the Same Guy, Chicago. So for those of you that don't know, there's a Facebook group for a lot of major cities called Are We Dating the Same Guy? and it's where women post in this Facebook group and they say, I'm dating this guy. I've been seeing him for 3 weeks. Is anybody else talking to him? Or I've been seeing this guy for 6 months. He wants to take it to the next level. Has anybody else been talking about him? The whole premise of the Facebook group is, are we dating the same guy? That's the whole point of it. What it has turned into, though, is scorned exes sitting on their ex because they broke up. That's not the purpose of the group. The purpose of the group should be to like warn women of toxic men or abusive men or like mental emotional manipulation or abuse. And I just feel like it's like slowly not turned into that. So I have a weird standpoint with that Facebook group. Okay. So somebody posted him on the Facebook group, said his name and put NET. And the top comment was this girl, and then below it was all that girl's friends, is what me and my best friend put together, because they all were friends with each other on Facebook, right? And so I'm like, it's kind of weird. But the main comments on the Facebook post were red flag, walking red flag, he's a red flag. That's really all that was said. There was nothing about like abuse or that he cheated or like nothing like that. It was just that he was a walking red flag. So I bring it up to his attention. I'm like, hey, I was sent this, and I wasn't even in the group. I was not even in the group. Somebody sent it to me and said, is this the guy you're talking to? He was posted in here. So I bring it to his attention. I'm like, hey, somebody sent me this thing and there's this Facebook post about you and I want to know like what's going on. And people were saying like, oh, I've talked to him before. I've talked to him before during this time. And it was a bunch of girls honestly saying that they've talked to him before too. So I was like, oh, what's going on with this? He is shocked. Okay. He's like, what is that? I've never seen that before. What are you talking about? And so I'm like, somebody sent me this. I showed him what was sent to me, right? And he goes, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I think my ex-girlfriend knows that I'm out dating. I'm on dating apps. And she's posted this thing to kind of like steer women away from me because I jumped on a dating app as soon as we broke up. And then so I was like, what was your ex's name? And he says the name, and the top comment was his ex-girlfriend. So it's kind of all lining up in my eyes, and I'm like, okay. And I'm like, well, why would she make this post about you? And he's like, did she say that I did anything wrong? And I was like, no, she didn't. And he's like, because I never did anything wrong, we just didn't work out, it was just a very toxic relationship. And so I'm like, okay. And so I had him confirm or deny in the comments. I'm like, have you talked to this person? He's like, yeah, I've talked to that person before. And he was like, I'm not gonna lie, like I went through a little host stage after my breakup. And the thing about the Facebook post after we had a conversation about it was that he had a host stage, he's been on dating apps before, and he's ghosted women before. There was a bunch of angry women in the comments, right? That was what his summary of it all, and that his ex-girlfriend made the post about him. He's like, I hope this doesn't like steer you away from me, like I'm not a bad person, blah, 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 whatever. I'm a dumbass, okay? We all know that. Hi, my name is Taylor-Nicole, and I'm a dumbass. I take this and I'm like, oh yeah, like, see, the problem is that when things like this arise, there are small little red flags like this, like small little things where you can kind of make excuses for like, oh, that makes sense, or oh, that's right. But it's like, why are all these women mad at you? You know what I mean? And so it's like, but whatever. I'm like, okay, I believe him. I keep it moving. Then as time goes on, as we're dating, I start getting TikTok messages of some random account on my TikTok saying, does Jax live in blank? And that's where he lived. He dated my friend. He's a terrible person. Don't talk to him. He's a walking red flag. Like, he's a douchebag. Keep getting these anonymous messages from this random account. Now, I know what you're thinking. Taylor, this is looking really fucking bad for you. I know. But you also have to remember, if you listen to episode 2, I have a stalker, and I've had a stalker for 2 years. So I'm thinking, because my stalker tried to ruin my relationship with Lala Man, which was my first ex, right? In episode 1, she tried to ruin my relationship with him. Since then, she was like harassing me, calling me fat and stuff. So during this time, I'm thinking it's my stalker. I'm thinking, oh, here comes this bitch again. She probably figured out who he was because I had already posted a picture of him at this point. So people started to figure out who he was. I'm like, it's my stalker, right? I don't know what to believe. I'm confused on what is reality. I'm also getting messages on Instagram from anonymous accounts saying like he's a douchebag, he's a walking red flag. But the main premise of what people were saying is that he's a red flag. He's a walking red flag. That was like constantly what was said. So I get these messages, right? I get these messages on TikTok. I'm kind of overwhelmed. I don't know if it's my stalker or who it is. So I decided to ask Jax, and I'm like, hey, I got this message on TikTok today, and the person that was messaging me on TikTok was also joining my lives and saying it in my lives, like saying that same message in my lives. So it was giving my stalker, but I wanted to confirm or deny. So I asked Jax, right? I do the fucking right thing. Hey Jax, I got this message today. Do you by any chance might know who this is? I was, yeah, I think it's my ex's sister. Okay, why would you think that? Like, I just have a feeling that it's her. She's the only girl that I know that's attached to my ex that would like see your TikTok or something. Now I'm confused. So I'm like, okay, so, and everything just kept going back to his ex-girlfriend. Like anytime I would bring something up, oh, it was my ex-girlfriend. The Facebook group, oh, it was my ex-girlfriend. The TikTok message, oh, it was my ex-girlfriend. The fucking Instagram messages, oh, it was my ex-girlfriend. You know what I mean? As time goes on, he gets posted again in a different Facebook group. And I'm like, what's going on? So after I ask him, I'm like, okay, so if you're assuming that this anonymous account that's messaging me on TikTok and Instagram is your ex-girlfriend's sister, wouldn't she have to have been following me prior to realize that it's you? And I start like putting together this thing where I'm like, okay, she either had to have started to follow me when I made the video about Jax that kind of went viral. It got like 9 million views. She had to either start following me then, or she followed me before. And then she must have followed me on Instagram because that's where I posted a picture of him, realized it was you, and then started to like contact me. And then I started thinking, I was like, I really hope, and I told Jax this, I was like, I really hope that your ex or your ex's sister didn't follow me prior to this and you knew this and you're using me to get your ex-girlfriend jealous. I really hope that that's not the case, because there was an incident that I had with him where I didn't want to post him on my Instagram story, and he got so annoyed that I wouldn't post him on my Instagram story. I was like, well, what the fuck is the big deal? Like, I don't understand. And he like really was like kind of urging me to post him on my Instagram story. So that kind of like flickered in the back of my brain when all this was happening, right? It's like, no, I would never do that, blah, 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 whatever, right? So as you can see, relationship is very quickly deteriorating. How quickly you get into a relationship is how quickly it will fucking end, okay? So the Facebook post kept coming up, right? So it was like, it got posted once, I asked him about it, and then it was posted in a different, are we dating the same guy? And then I had to bring it up again, and then I get these messages from these people that are anonymous, and I'm bringing it up, and then I posted a picture of him. People are saying they know him. So, but it kept always going back to the Facebook post. I go to a family party. My cousin is also in the Are We Dating the Same Guy? She goes, isn't this the guy you're dating? She pulls up the Facebook post. And it's not looking good for me, right? Because I just got out of a really toxic relationship. And so my family's on edge. Because we all were fooled by my ex. Like, we all thought that it was going to be endgame. That was the person I was going to get married to, right? So my family is also on edge in like a very protective matter. Like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, why is all these girls calling him a red flag? Like, we should be worried, you know? So now I bring up the Facebook post to him again. So he starts to get irritated that the Facebook post is constantly getting brought up. And I'm kind of irritated that he's irritated because I'm like, this is your baggage. This is your ex. You're assuming your ex posted about it. Like, I'm just having to deal with it. And like, if I have questions or concerns or it's coming up in my life and it's bothering me, like, I'm allowed to talk about it. You know what I mean? I start asking more specific questions about his ex-girlfriend. This is when he tells me, are you ready for this? Are you fucking ready for this? I don't think that you are. This is when he tells me that he had a conversation with his ex-girlfriend on the phone early February, mid-February. And I'm like, wait, what the fuck are you talking about? And because we had a conversation where we were talking about like blocking exes or if we would ever block an ex. And I go, oh, I block all my exes. I'm like, they all know, like, I'm not the one nor the fucking two. You're gonna need 3 to hold me back because I'm not the one to spin the block on. Like, I ain't that bitch. You know what I mean? I've never had one of my exes like try to get back together with me, and I'm not the bitch that goes like back and forth or like takes an ex back. Like, I'm just not that person. Once it's done, you know? So like, don't fucking try me. And I was explaining that to him, and he was like, oh no, like, I've never blocked an ex. Like, I feel like that's so permanent. And that was like raising alarm bells for me. And I'm like, and I was like, what do you mean you didn't block your ex? He goes, well, my ex actually called me in like early February, mid-February. Mind you, we're in fucking March, okay? And I go, what do you mean she called you? And he goes, it was right after the Facebook post. I go, oh, so you knew about the Facebook post. Because remember, ***, he acted shocked. He said, what is that? What is that Facebook post? I've never seen that in my fucking life. So I'm looking at him like, wow, you're a phenomenal actor, because all this time I thought you had no idea what the Facebook post was, that the group even existed. This is when he decides to tell me the truth, okay? And I had already expressed to him, like, I don't do well with lying. I can fix you like fucking up or like making a mistake or something. And when I mean fucking up, I'm not referring to cheating or like flirting with other women. I can handle somebody making a mistake, but I cannot fix dishonesty. Like that's a character trait. If you're dishonest, that's just who you are as a person. You know what I mean? He goes, well, I didn't know how to tell you. And so this is where things get messy. And you tell me, you the viewer, you the listener, you tell me what you would do in this situation. He goes, the Facebook post came up after our second date. He goes, I got notified about the Facebook post the day before our second date, and people were hitting me up through text and stuff saying, oh, you got posted. And he goes, I didn't know if I should tell you because it was drama from my past and we had only been on 2 dates, right? And I'm like, okay. And he goes, and my ex called me the day after our second date. The day after our second date was like right around Valentine's Day, okay? He goes, she called me and I was like, you still have her number in your phone? He goes, yeah. I go, so you see your ex's name pop up and she's calling you, and you go, yeah, I'm going to answer that. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, why did you answer that? He goes, because I think she's the one that made the Facebook post. And I'm like, okay, so what happened? And he goes, she kind of was just like laughing about it, saying, ha ha ha, like I saw this Facebook post about you. She denied posting it. And I knew it was her, and I told her to take it down. She said, no, it wasn't her. She doesn't know who did it. And it was kind of like a haha, fuck you phone conversation. So how come when I asked you about it, you lied? Why weren't you just honest? Why didn't you just say what you just told me now? Like, we were only on our second date. I didn't want to tell you. When I asked you about it, when I finally found out about it, why didn't you just say, you know, actually, I've seen that before. I think my ex did it. Why didn't you give me that whole spiel? Why did you act like you didn't know what the fuck it was? I didn't want to scare you away. I just felt uncomfortable with it. Like, it's embarrassing. Like, all these girls are commenting, blah, 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 right? Now things are rocky. Now things have officially started to take a downward fucking spiral. So you tell me what you would do in that situation. I mean, technically we were only on date 2. He owes me nothing. He didn't really technically have to tell me that. But I do feel like when I did find out about it, we're already dating at this point, that he should have just owned up to it and been like, yeah, I knew about it already. Like, why take the initiative to further that lie? Like, why? You get what I'm saying? Leave a comment below and let me know what you would have done in that situation. And if you would have A, believed him, B, fucking, is that a deal breaker for you? If you would have saw that and been like, yeah, you know what? I can't fucking do this. Like, what would you have done in this situation if you were me? Because I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense. Right? So I kept it moving. Insert the fucking earring story. Ladies and gentlemen, fasten your fucking seatbelts, sit down, enjoy the fucking ride. I'm gonna tell you a story that's gonna make me look batshit fucking crazy, but I'm doing it for the wellness and the goodness of the people and the listeners, that we can all learn from this, because I really think this is so important to talk about. A lot of people ask me about what the difference is between a gut feeling and anxiousness. How do you know the difference? And the way that I explain it is that a gut feeling is in your stomach and it's a knowing. For some reason, you just know something's wrong. You just know. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's more so like something feels off. I just know something's off. Or I just know he's cheating on me. Or I just know I'm in the wrong place at the wrong time. I shouldn't be here. Like, it's a knowing and it's in your gut. Whereas an anxiousness is in your chest and it's an overthinking process. You're kind of confused. You get what I'm saying? That's how I kind of differentiate it. And we're going to talk about me actually figuring this out in this moment. So I'm going to tell a story from my perspective. We're going to rewind. And then I'm going to tell a story from what I would assume would be an outsider's or his perspective, and we're gonna see what you the viewer thinks or you the listener thinks. Okay, so I go to his house. He was sick that week. Okay, he wasn't feeling good. He had pink eye. He was getting sick. I went to his house, right? And he had worked that entire day, and so I was coming over to his house after his work shift, so he was tired, right? But just note that star that he had worked that day. I walk into his house. I cannot explain it to you. I got this overwhelming feeling the minute I stepped foot into his house that something was off. Something was wrong. Everything just seemed out of place. Everything just seemed wrong. Everything just seemed fucking off. It was so deep in my gut, like my stomach started turning, and I was like, and I couldn't even place it. I was just like looking around like something feels weird. Something feels off. I could not explain it to you. I don't know what the fuck was going on. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Everything's fine. We sit down on the couch. We're talking. He's like, let's watch a movie. We start watching a movie. He's distant with me. He's not very talkative. He's not saying much. And I'm like, it's kind of weird. He's like, well, normally we're like cuddling on the couch. He's not doing that. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, well, whatever. He doesn't feel good. Maybe he just doesn't feel good. We're watching the movie. I'm like making comments about the movie. He's not really saying anything. I like kind of glance over at him and I could tell he's like not paying attention to the movie and he's thinking, right? And so I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what is going on? Something just feels off. So he's like, and then he kind of catches me like looking at him, and he was like, oh, come here, like just like sit next to me, get closer to me. And I go to scoot over. Now, mind you, I sit in the same spot. I used to sit in the same spot on his couch every single time, okay? And I like made a joke out of it. I was at his house 2 days prior to this, okay? Just remember that. I go to scoot over to sit closer to him. He has a sectional, and the sectional fucking separates. Okay, please enter into fucking batshit crazy mode, okay? Because we're about to enter into that mode right now. Do you know how a sectional fucking works, bitch? A sectional has a little screw. It's like a flathead screw, and then a little clip. It looks like this that goes on top of it so the sectional won't separate. So if you want to move your couch around and you want to move it into a different shape, you can connect it so the sectional won't fucking move. That's the whole fucking point of the screw, right? I was there 2 days prior. The sectional was fucking together, okay? Alarm bells are going off in my head. Why is the sectional fucking broken? So I get up and I go, your sectional's splitting. Like, it's like not connected. He goes, what? Really? And I go, yeah, like, well, what the fuck happened to your couch? Mind you, he's like a handyman. He likes to build shit and stuff. You would think he would know that if something happened to his couch, right? He goes, that's so weird. He like pushes the sectional out, and the screw to the fucking sectional is broken. It's off, okay? Like the screw part is like screwed out, okay? How does that happen? Run me through it with me. Run down fucking crazy Drewberry Lane, batshit crazy lane. Okay, run down. Okay, if the screw's like this, let's just do science for a second. If the screw's like this, right? And it has a little clip that's next to it, and it's pulled out, that would mean that the screw, are you looking, bitch? That would mean that the screw would have to go like this, and the screw would come out, right? It would like slowly twist. It's not like the fucking thing just like broke. It was pulled out, like the screw was pulled out, like almost like it was stripped, right? How do you not know that your sectional is fucking broken? And so I'm like, oh, did you like have a friend over and it like they sat on your couch like fucked up or something? No. I have no idea why my sectional is broken. He's got no fucking clue. Strange, right? You, bitch, look at me in the eyes. You know exactly what I'm thinking. We're going to have a telepathy moment for a second here. What are we thinking? Yeah, somebody sucked and fucked on that couch. That's what I was thinking at the time. There is no fucking way that sectional separated without you fucking knowing. There's no way. All of a sudden, that like gut feeling is getting deeper and deeper. I feel like I have to throw up. He moves the sectional to try to like fix it, to like lift the thing up and like try to put it back on. And lo and behold, in between the crack of the sectional is a gold earring. Yeah. A gold fucking earring. I was like, oh shit. I see it. He sees it. He panics and pulls the sectional like over so I couldn't see the earring, right? I'm like sick to my stomach. I'm like, something's fucking off, bitch. And I feel like God gives you signs, you know? I go to the bathroom. I'm like, I'm gonna be back. I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick. He's like, yeah, sure, whatever. I go to the bathroom. I'm texting my friends. I'm texting my besties like, bitch, listen to this shit. I feel fucking crazy. My best friend's like, I feel like girls leave things on purpose for a reason. And I'm like, but I'm running through the conversation in my head. Like, if I bring this up, right? What is he going to say? What is he going to say to me? Oh, my ex-girlfriend lived here. Of course, some of her stuff is going to be underneath the couch. Or, yeah, I went through a hoe phase. Like, I had girls over at my house. Like, that could be one of the girls. And what the fuck am I supposed to say to that? If he's like, oh, yeah, like a month before meeting you, I was seeing this other girl. I had her over. She might have just fucking left it here. Then what am I supposed to say? Oh, I just have this gut feeling that like somebody was here before me and that you like were fucking on this couch before me. Like, I'm going to look fucking crazy. So my best friend's like, if you just don't feel comfortable, just leave. But like, really, you have nothing to go off of besides the fucking earring. I say nothing about the earring. I'm like, let me just put that bitch in my back pocket. Sit back on the couch. He's still acting weird. He goes, do you want to go to the bedroom? I'm like, yeah, sure. Let's go to the bedroom. Let's just like lay down, hang out, right? Remember I told you he worked that day? Okay, let's do a little preface here, a little background check real quick. Every single morning, he would make his bed. Every single morning. Okay, before he left for work, he would make his bed. And he made it like this thing. He was like, yeah, like I read this book that said that if you make your bed every single day, you accomplish at least one thing today. So he would make his bed every single day. There's 2 pillows on the bed that he hates that were on technically my side, right? And every single time I would come over to his house, he would take those 2 pillows and throw them on the floor. Anytime I was there, he would only sleep on his side. He would never sleep on the other side. So there was no purpose or point of moving those pillows. You get what I'm saying? He was at work that entire day. So his bed should have been made, right? I walk into his bedroom. Why are the sheets, the comforter, the bed all fucked up? The pillows, all the pillows are on the floor. Yeah. All the pillows are on the floor. The comforter's on the floor, everything. And I'm like, that gut feeling intensified by 1,000. I feel like something's so fucking off. Like it just was not going away. And every time I was seeing like little things, it was just making it so much worse. I feel so uncomfortable at this point. I sit on the bed. He's like, why aren't you laying down? I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to leave. He's like, leave? What do you mean you're going to leave? And I'm like, I feel so uncomfortable right now. I cannot even express to you like how uncomfortable I feel. And he's like, why? And I'm sitting in my head thinking like, what am I supposed to say? I feel like something's off. I have this feeling that's like indescribable that you don't get, like, because you're not going to understand because you're a man. I'm talking about a woman's intuition. You're not going to get it. And I'm like, let's just run through it. Let's just say that he did hook up with somebody. Is he going to tell me, bitch? No. Do I have any proof? No. Let's just say he didn't hook up with anybody. I still have this feeling. So now I'm feeling like in my head, I feel like reality isn't real. I feel like I'm living in a dream. I'm starting to question, like, is this me projecting my trauma with my ex-boyfriend onto him and nothing's actually wrong? So let's do a rewind, okay? And let's go through maybe his perspective or an outsider's perspective. He doesn't feel good. He woke up in the morning. He didn't make his bed because he didn't feel good. He went to work. He's tired. He really didn't feel good. He comes home. He's like, hey, let's hang out. I come over. He sits down and he's just really not feeling good. We're watching the movie. He really doesn't want to be talking that much because he doesn't feel good. I say the sectional's moving. He's like, what the fuck? What the fuck's wrong with my couch? He has no idea. He genuinely doesn't know why his sectional is fucking moved. And then he's like, you know what? I just want to lay down. I don't feel good. Let's just like hang out and lay down in the bedroom. We go into the bedroom. We lay down. And I'm like, I don't feel comfortable. I want to leave. Yeah, I might think that I'm fucking batshit crazy. I genuinely would. You know what I mean? But it's like, what do you do? Like, I don't know. You know, it's still to this day, I don't know. I don't know if I was batshit crazy in that moment, or if I don't know if that was a woman's intuition, like fucking screaming at me that something was off. I really don't know because I have no proof of anything. We end up having this entire conversation about the Facebook post, the ex-girlfriend, everything. He's like, why don't you feel good? I don't bring up the earring. I'm just like, you know what? I just feel like something's off. I can't put my finger on it. And I know I sound crazy right now, but I just feel like something's off. Like, you've been acting off. Like, I just feel like something's wrong and I don't know how to fucking express it. And he's like, I feel like the Facebook post is really bothering you. He brings up the Facebook post. I don't. I go, I mean, yeah, it was bothering me a couple of days ago, but we already talked about it. And he was like, when are you going to get over the Facebook post? I was like, what? Because mind you, like 5 seconds before he was like complaining about the Facebook post, he was like, I feel like you need to be like more vulnerable with me. I feel like you're really closed off. I feel like you have a lot of walls up. And I'm starting to tell him how I feel. And he's like, when are you going to get over the fucking Facebook post? And I was like, you know what? Reel it the fuck back in. It's not that I'm not over the Facebook post. It's that new information keeps coming up. Like, you didn't tell me the full fucking story from the beginning. And I found out that you already knew about it. And then you have a phone conversation with your ex like 2 weeks later after we already discovered the Facebook post. Like, had you would have just told me everything from the get-go, like, we wouldn't have to keep talking about it. But because I keep finding out new information and new posts are being made about you, yeah, we have to still keep fucking talking about it. We have this whole conversation. He tells me, you know what? I feel like I'm all in and you're 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Now, I already told you in the beginning that the premise of this is not to make him look like shit. It's not to talk about him. It's really just to give you an idea of like what it's like to be in a relationship too soon after a breakup. And to be completely honest, I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I was not 100% all in. And you really cannot go into a relationship with, 1, not being capable of being vulnerable, and 2, being 1 foot in, 1 foot out, like ready to run at any single like argument or any type of problem. Because the other person can feel that, and then you're making the other person feel not secure in the relationship, and it just causes like this disruption. And it's not like a healthy flow of a relationship. I start to question where I'm at with my mental health and me getting over the breakup and stuff like that too. I felt like in that conversation, there really wasn't any accountability on his part with the fact that we constantly talked about his ex-girlfriend, and I felt like he wasn't over his ex-girlfriend. He was like, I am 100%. And I'm like, yeah, but we constantly are talking about her. Like, we're constantly bringing her up. Like, we both apologize. We both come to an agreement. And everything feels fine, you know, like we talked about it, everything's okay, like whatever, right? It was a very like soft conversation. It wasn't aggressive. It wasn't like we were yelling. We didn't raise our voice. We didn't swear. It was a very like healthy conversation was what it felt like, right? Starting to realize that maybe we're both not in a place to be dating. To me, he's like, I feel like you're not in a place to be in a relationship right now. And that was like a stab to my chest. I'm like, oh my God, because he was right? I wasn't in a place to be in a relationship. But at the same time, he's basically saying, like, we shouldn't be together. And I was like, you know what? If you genuinely feel like that and you feel like this isn't going to work, then, like, maybe we should both, like, go our separate ways. But he was like, no, I want this. I want to be in this. I'm all in. I just need to make sure you're all in. And that was like a really hard thing for me to do because I wasn't ready to be all in. And I entered something too quickly after my relationship. Now we cue the Cubs game, the signature fucking Cubs game story. Okay. So after all this happened, in comes the weekend. I go out with my cousin and my cousin's friends, and he goes out with his best friend. That night, I'm texting him. I'm like, hey, do you want to meet up? Because he was going around the same area that I was going to be in, that me and my cousin were thinking about going in. No, I'm with my friend. Okay. Do you want me to like come over later? I could like meet you up later. We could just like hang out and go to like basically sleep over at his house. No, I'm with my friend. Okay. Like, you sure you don't want to meet up later? No, I'm with my friend. And he had expressed to me early on in the relationship that his ex made him feel isolated and that he couldn't hang out with his friends and it was always a problem. And he doesn't want me to do that. Here's the problem with that. If you start off a relationship making rules based off your ex, you're not starting off a relationship on a clean slate. You're starting a relationship off of your past trauma or your past things that happened to you and bringing them into a new relationship. Because I was like, I've never made you feel like you couldn't hang out with your friends because we're too new for you to experience that. Why are we now comparing me to your ex? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm getting blamed for your ex's faults. Do you see what I'm saying? And like, we all unintentionally project our trauma onto other people. It's just how self-aware you are. You know what I mean? And so I didn't like that because I never made him feel like that he couldn't hang out with his friends. And I felt like that was being projected onto me when I never made him feel like that. Because I was 1000% okay with him hanging out with his friends. I never had a problem with it. If anything, I actually hate when people like blow me up when I'm with my friends. So I completely understood where he was coming from, where like he doesn't want us to be texting 24/7 when he's with his friends. I'm the same way. So I ask him a couple times. He says no, and I leave it alone. I'm like, well, do you want to do something tomorrow? And he goes, yeah, let's go to a Cubs game tomorrow. Starts at 1, but I want you to be like up and ready at 10 because, and I'll pick you up because I want to be drinking at 11. Okay, perfect, right? He sends me that text at like 8 o'clock. I then do not hear from him until 11 o'clock the next day when he FaceTimes me in bed hungover, laughing, completely forgetting the fact that he made plans with me to go to a Cubs game. And I was so pissed off when he FaceTimed me the next morning. I was like, first of all, you went MIA since 8 o'clock. I haven't spoken to you in over 12 hours. Second of all, you made plans with me to be ready at 10. Can you imagine if I got up this morning and actually got ready, but the minute I saw that you didn't text me at like 8 or 9 saying like, hey, are you getting ready, or hey, or what's going on, I didn't even bother to get ready. And 3, you were literally in bed hungover, like laughing at the fact that you're hungover when you literally blew me off. He's like, we could still make it. We could still make it to the Cubs game. We can still go. Now, again, viewers, listeners, what would you do? Do you push it aside and be like, okay, fine, it's not that big of a deal, let's still go to the Cubs game? Or do you say, no, I'm still upset with you, I don't want to go to the Cubs game now because now I feel like my life is like revolving around you, I have to like wait around for you? Because that's how I felt. I was not the latter. I was not the one that was like, yeah, let's still go to the Cubs game. No, like, we're too fucking new for you to be blowing me off. We're 2 months in and you're blowing me off, and like, it almost felt like he was making his friends more a priority over me, right? And so I expressed that to him. I was like, I don't feel like a priority. I feel like, he's like, well, I told you that I said that I like, you know, want to hang out with my friends more. We have this argument. He goes, do you want to still go to the Cubs game? I go, no, I don't want to go to the Cubs game. I'm so irritated with you. I just don't want to go. He goes, okay. He's like, are we hanging out today? I'm like, no, I need space from you. Like, I don't want to talk to you. I wait like 2 hours. I sent him this long text message saying like how I felt basically and that I needed space. He goes, okay. I end up going to the bar by myself. I start drinking. I don't text him for like 4 hours. And I purposely sent him that long text message before I was drinking. And I even said, I don't want to have this conversation when I'm drinking. So please don't bring it up when I'm drinking because I will be drinking later today. Right? I go out. I start drinking. It's like 4 hours go by, and he texted me like 3 or 4 times and I wasn't responding to him because I just wanted like to clear my head, right? Because I mean, he went MIA for 12 hours because he was out with his friends, right? He went MIA for 12 hours and he didn't want to be bothered when he was with his friends. If I'm gone for 4 hours in the middle of the fucking day, I think it's fine if I don't text you, right? Like, reciprocating energy here. So I don't text him for 4 hours. I end up telling these 2 like married men at the bar like my fucking life story about this whole situation. Like, it's kind of weird that he's not really like chasing you in a way. Like, he's not really like, it doesn't seem like he's like super overly interested in you. And I'm like, that's the type of vibe I'm fucking getting, but I feel crazy. Well, why don't you just text him and ask him to meet you out? And I'm like, you know what? That's a great idea. Like, we could just meet out today. Like, time has passed. We both cooled down. So I text him and I'm like, hey, do you want to meet me up? He goes, I can't. I go, why? I'm hanging out with my friend that I was hanging out with yesterday. I'm like, okay, well, I'm at the bar by myself. Like, why are you at the bar by yourself? And I'm like, because I just needed time to cool off. I just needed time. I just needed space. He's like, well, I can't meet you out because I'm with my friend. And I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of shitty. Like, whatever. Never met this friend, the like guy bestie that he's talking about. I never met him. And so I was just like, this is so weird. And so the guy, he's like, I'm just letting you know right now. He's like, when I met my wife, I was obsessed with her. He was like, he's like, and I'm still obsessed with her to this day. He's like, if she were to call me right now and be like, hey, I'm at the bar by myself, meet me out. He's like, I would drop everything just to go by her, right? The two married guys at the bar are trying to help out him, Jax, right? So they're like, why don't you send him this text and just say, if I told you it would mean everything in the world to me, if I got to see you tonight, would you see me? I send it, right? Jax responds, I would see you. I respond, then see me. Jax responds, I can't. I'm with my friend. He doesn't even give an option of, I'm busy right now, I can meet you out later, or I'm sorry, I already made plans, I could see you tomorrow, or like, just like nothing. And the two guys at the bar were like, this dude's fumbling the fucking bag. Like, you're handing it to him on a silver fucking platter and he's like not getting it. Now, here is where I make my series of mistakes, okay? We're taking accountability today. This is where I make my series of mistakes. Everything had come to a head at this point in my mind. With the earring, the fucking Facebook post, the conversation. Like, it was just so much, and I just felt like I was losing my fucking mind, and it was more energy than I was willing to give. And so I call it quits. I text him. I'm like, you know what? I don't think I want to do this anymore. I'm over this. I break up with him through text in a kind of lit state, essentially. Was that my best decision? No, it was not. And I made a rash, impulsive decision because my feelings were hurt. And in this moment is when I probably realized I had a disorganized or fearful avoidant attachment style, which is essentially a push-pull dynamic where you push somebody away and you want them to like run after you to make yourself feel secure. All you're doing is making the other person feel insecure about the relationship. And so I was kind of creating this like push-pull dynamic. I pushed him away. I was like, yeah, no, I don't want to be with you anymore. Like, I'm done with this. I'm fucking over it. Like, fuck this, whatever. Next day, I make a TikTok post about it. I blocked him. Just kind of went balls to the wall with impulsive, rash decision making, right? And not thinking anything through at all. The next day, I end up unblocking him. He contacts me and he's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what is going on? You made this TikTok post about me. People are now shitting on me. And then like, you broke up with me through text. Like, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, you know what? I sat there and thought about it and I still stand by my decision. I feel like we're just both not in a place to be fucking dating right now. I feel like this is just like not ending well. Like, and I tell him all that, like, this whole thought process. Mind you, I'm in therapy during this whole thing. I'm talking to my therapist about it. My therapist is like, what do you want? What do you actually want? What do you deeply desire? And I'm like, I mean, I want to date him. I want to be with him. But at the same time, like, I just feel like we're in a place where like that's not happening. And she's like, then why are you telling him you don't want to be with him? And to be honest, it's a defense mechanism. It's to protect myself. If I tell somebody how I really feel, then, oh my God, they have access to hurt my feelings. But if I tell them I don't really care about the situation, then they can't hurt my feelings. Do you get what I'm saying? I feel like I'm processing all of this at the same time. And I feel like I'm making the wrong decisions. So I end up texting him saying like, hey, can we have a conversation? I feel like, you know, I made a poor decision and I just want to talk about everything. He goes, yeah, you made me feel really disposable that you could just like drop me like that. And he had said to me in the past before, I feel like if you and I were to break up, I would be distraught and super hurt and you would just be like on to the next. Like, you wouldn't give a fuck about me. And then I kind of proved that theory by then like breaking up with him at the drop of a dime. I have this conversation with him. I apologize to him. I'm like, you know, I shouldn't have done that. I should have been an adult about it. I should have had a conversation. I shouldn't have been texting you when I was drunk. He apologized for his portion. We have this whole conversation and he's like, so what do you want to do? I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, I need time to think. And I'm like, okay. And so when he means like, what do you want to do? He's basically asking like, do you want to continue this relationship? I, at this point, felt like I had made a wrong decision and wanted to continue the relationship. He was unsure whether or not he wanted to continue the relationship. And so he's like, I need time, I need space. I'm like, okay. 4 to 5 days, 0 contact from him. Not a good morning, not a, hey, I'm still thinking, like nothing. I'm talking 0 fucking contact for 5 days. And I'm talking to my therapist about it, and I'm like, I feel like he is handling the situation so inappropriately right now. Not that I'm in any room to talk, because I handled it equally as inappropriately, right? She goes, it's not that he's handling the situation inappropriately. You have to ask yourself, do you want to be with somebody that solves problems in this way and communicates in this way? Is the way that he's communicating somebody you want to be with? This fucking, it's like somebody literally like cleared a dirty ass fucking windshield and I could see everything so clearly. It's not that we're these terrible people. I'm not a terrible person. He's not a terrible person. It's the fact that when he's dealing with a problem, maybe he needs so much space, and there's somebody out there that could give that to him, could give him hella space. I'm a person that when there's an issue, I want to talk about it. I want to fix it right away. I want to just sit there and hash it out, talk about our feelings, and then just move on to the next thing, forgive and forget type of energy. I start realizing, like, you know what? This whole like no contact thing was making me so incredibly anxious. I hate being in a gray area with somebody. I want to know what's going on. I don't think that in the future, if we continued our relationship and that was the way that he responded to things, that I would be able to be with somebody like that. Just as much as I don't think that he could be with somebody that makes such rash, impulsive decisions and hurts his feelings. You get what I'm saying? So it was like 2 things happening at once, right? Finally, 5th day, he calls me, goes, okay, like we could talk, whatever. And we're on FaceTime, we're talking, and he goes, you know what? I promise, he's like, you know, I had a lot of time to think, and I'm sorry that I like have been so distant and like not contacting you lately. I've been talking to my friends and family on what to do. My friends and family think I should forgive you, but like I'm in a weird spot right now. And I'm like, okay, like what do you think? And he goes, I promised myself that I would not be in another toxic relationship like I was with my ex-girlfriend. And I feel like you are kind of doing the same things that she did. And I just can't move forward with this. And it's just something that I can't get over. And so it all went right back to the ex-girlfriend again. And I was like, I don't think that that's fair. Like, I understand that, you know, I made a mistake and I made a rash decision. I broke up with you like in a drunken state. But at the same time, now you're putting what your ex-girlfriend did on me when that has nothing to do with me. I'm like, that's no different than me saying like, I feel like you're a super untrustworthy person because of what my ex did to me. It all boiled down to 1, our communication style, 2, the fact that we jumped into something way too soon after a relationship, and 3, the fact that like we were both coming from an unhealed place. Like I could see it so clearly now. I hope you can see it. But this is why it's so important to take time to heal after a relationship. And everybody was telling me, but I was so fucking delusional at the time. I was like, I'm fine. I'm 1000% okay. I wasn't, and it showed in that relationship. And I truly, honestly believe that relationships are mirrors, and there are certain people in your life that are supposed to enter your life to hold a mirror up to yourself so you can see toxic traits in yourself that you can heal. I genuinely feel like there are certain people that come into your life to either teach you something, show you something, or heal something in you. And that's their only purpose. They're not end game. They're not your end all be all. They're not the love of your life. They're not your twin flame. They're not your fucking soulmate. They're here to teach you something. And you have to accept that and just move on from that situation. I think with this particular relationship, I genuinely felt like it was 100% my fault. And I felt like I hurt somebody that didn't deserve to be hurt in that situation. At the end of it all, that I took like 1000% responsibility for the ending of that relationship. And it took a huge blow to my ego. And this is like a really vulnerable thing to admit, because when somebody basically tells you that they don't want you, essentially, it's a huge blow to your ego. It feels like, why? Like, what did I do? Like, why wasn't I enough to fight for, type of thing. And this ending of this relationship actually hurt my feelings more than the ending of my 1.5-year relationship. That 1.5-year relationship, I didn't give a fuck. I really honestly was like, I wasn't heartbroken over him, I guess I should say. There was things that I needed to heal from, but I wasn't heartbroken over him. I was processing it for so many, like literally for so long, because I was like, wow, I really fucked that up, didn't I? And I tried my best to like fix the situation. I tried my best, but I had already made my decision. I had already like fucked it up. And I also feel like we were both at a place that we were unhealed, that there just wasn't like a chance for our relationship to survive at that point. We kind of like ended the conversation. He's like, well, I wish you the best in life. Like, I don't wish bad on you. Like, good luck with everything in your life. And I was like, thanks. And then the conversation ended and we never talked again. I thought that like maybe time would pass and he would like reach out or something. And no, he didn't. Ladies and gentlemen, what did we learn from this experience? What did we learn from Taylor Lemus's experience? Number one, don't get into something too soon after a relationship if you are not healed from it. Everybody's healing journey is different. Healing is not linear. Things can come up at different points in time. Triggers can come up at different point in time. We're always forever growing. A healing journey never ends. You're always healing. You're always growing. You're always changing. Your perspective is changing. But if you are not fully healed, you cannot jump into something. 2, if you are not willing to be 100% all in or 100% vulnerable with somebody, open and honest, you are not ready to be in a relationship. Those are huge foundational bricks at the base of a relationship to build a healthy dynamic. If you cannot be those things, you're not ready for a relationship. And 3, if you're not able to recognize the mistakes and faults that you have in yourself, then you're not in a growing, healing space. You can only grow when you're able to recognize the mistakes that you've made and change them going forward. And 4, how you solve a problem in a relationship in the early stages will tell you how long that relationship is going to last. Are you working as a team or are you working against each other? Do your communication styles match in a way where your needs are being met and the other person's needs are being met? Do you and your partner both feel seen and heard when you are dealing with an argument or a disagreement? Those are things that are going to tell you how long your relationship is going to last. Because if you can't tackle small problems in the early stages of a relationship, then how the fuck are you going to handle bigger problems later in the relationship? So we don't hate Jax. He's not a terrible person. I just don't think that we were in the best space or compatibility at that time. I hope this episode helped you feel seen and heard. See you on the next episode where we discuss Llama Man, a man who likes to spit on bitches. Love you. And remember, it's all alleged, baby.